Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the JN Circle Thrive Together Life Class series. My name is Kamala McWinney. I am an associate clinical psychologist, relationship coach, and wellness consultant, and I'm going to be your host for this evening's conversation. We've been having an amazing time so far, discussing all types of relevant issues related to life and living well, especially as it relates to coping with the pandemic that we're still unfortunately going through. Yeah. This evening, we're going to be having an amazing, powerful, relatable, fabulous, sexy, down to earth, practical conversation about marriage. Our topic this evening is Till Death Do Us Part, Keeping Marriages Healthy in a Pandemic. And we are joined by an amazing lineup of panelists. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So if you have not yet, please grab a couple of friends and ask them to jump over to this space because we're going to be having an amazing convo that's going to be of value to not just those who are married, but those who want to be married, those who are soon to be married, etc. So without further ado, I'm going to go back to sharing screen just to give you an idea of the content that we have for today, our panelists, and a couple of housekeeping matters. So here we have it. We're talking about Till Death Do Us Part, and I know we take it for granted sometimes in the vows, and we're talking about focusing on keeping our marriages healthy. Our panelists, so before we get to the panelists that we have this evening, a couple of housekeeping things. We want to keep the conversation flowing, we want to keep it vibrant, and we definitely want your input as audience members. So we have a Q&A feature that you will see on your screen. You'll be able to drop any questions that you may have for the panelists, and they'll be more than happy to respond to as many as we can. There is also a raise hand feature. If it is that you have a burning issue that you definitely want to be called on to share, then you can utilize that feature. Again, we will try to take as many as we can. And there is also the chat. We encourage you to just drop your thoughts as the panelists are speaking, whether you agree or disagree, respectfully, of course. And you can also utilize that space to just load up, the JN group for this fabulous space that they have created for all of us. Okay? And then who we have, apart from me, your host and CEO of White Lotus Blooms Wellness Services, we also have Lecia-Gaye Taylor. She is a blogger, and her blog is called Just Itch Know What. It's a scintillating blog. I'm inviting everybody to check it out. We also have Kyle Chin. He's a mixed martial arts champion and filmmaker. We'll be joined later on by husband and wife duo, Yanive and Chaday Taylor, Nelson, sorry. And then we're going to be jumping over to Minister Kevin Downswell to close out this absolutely fabulous conversation later this evening. So let's get to it. All right, so I'm going to invite Lecia-Gaye Taylor and Kyle Chin to jump out on stage and join us. Hi.
Hi. Greetings.
Hi, Kyle. How are you doing on today?
I'm great.
Excellent. And Lecia, how are you doing today?
I am good.
Awesome. How have you been coping generally with the pandemic? And that's for both of you.
Go ahead, Lecia.
Well, I have been, I'm now better because we're 3 months in. At first, I was really thrown by it because I work in tourism and it literally brought our industry to a halt immediately. And so it took me a while to kind of get past it, but I'm good now.
Okay, great. I think many people can relate. How about you, Kyle? How have you been managing?
Pretty much the same as Lecia. I mean, my industry is very much impacted by tourism and also just the need to be around people. And of course, it also affects my training and in a very big way because, for the martial arts, you have to train with people, you have to be in contact for a lot of it. So it was definitely an adjustment period. And then it's also, being now in where the wife was usually at work every day. I had my home office and, I had my training. So we're now living much more compact lives.
I think many of the couples who are watching can relate. So I love when you jump on that point, right? So of course, when you talk about marriage, Lecia and Kyle, there are some big ticket topics that we have to touch on, yeah? But before we even get into the communication and the compromise and the keeping it sexy, I want to hear from both of you on the issue of choosing the right partner. because that's where we start off. If you choose wrong, you're likely to have some issues, to say the very least. So I'd love to get your where both of you started from in your own marriage journey. I'm going to start with Kyle. Kyle, was there a specific moment when you said to yourself, yeah, man, Betty is the one? Did the clouds open up like how we see in the movies? Did you hear like a voice somewhere? Did you see stars in her eyes? Tell us about from a man's perspective. When did you make that decision to say, yeah, man, this can work?
Well, it's funny. So like, it's kind of a mixture of both those things where it was like an all-in-one moment, and it was also over a period of time, having gone through so many things together and having worked through a lot of difficult times together, and realizing that, this woman is such a blessing to my life, and I don't know how much the quality of my life would be without her. But it was also, I remember, like, it was early out, fairly early out, before 2 months. I remember one time, I don't know if I've ever even told her this. We're in the bed and she was sleeping. And I tell you something, this woman sleep pretty. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a thing, not every woman sleep pretty. So especially and them don't wake up pretty neither. But she's a morning person and she sleep pretty and wake up pretty.
Wow.
And like, I remember thinking to myself, boy, you need a woman who can sleep pretty and wake up pretty, That's nice, I mean, but that was just one little thing. But definitely over the years, it was really more about, and we were together for a long time before we got married. I think we were together for 7 or 8 years before we actually, tied the knot. But we had been through a lot together and we really worked through a lot of experiences. So it could be, she likes to say she saved my life. Like, I went through a little, illness and thing, and she was there for me and brought me through it and out of it. So, and she's still saving my life today.
That's so beautiful. And are you looking off screen at her right now? Because I feel like it's a lot of energy.
Sorry, she in the kitchen there saving my life.
No, that's fine. Love it. And please ask Betty at whatever time she finds convenient to teach us her ways as it relates to sleeping pretty and waking up pretty, Lecia-Gaye, right?
Right.
So Lecia, on your side now, was there that moment, or was it a collection of moments when you say, yeah, man, Garfield is the one? If he asked, I'm going to say yes. Or did you plan to ask him?
No, and I wasn't even prepared for when he asked me. I was actually still surprised. I don't know. I can't think of any one moment that made me say, this is it. But I can think of collective things that he did. And I think for me, one of the most, the thing that I can remember the most is just how supportive he was. When we met, I was actually in law school. And I remember I had moved to Montego Bay and was working in Montego Bay and would drive up on, for classes on the weekends. And I remember when I had exams, I love to study up until walking into the exam room, and him waking up and driving down to Montego Bay to pick me up to take me to exams so I could actually use that time to study as opposed to drive and come up. And it was like studying, and he would come and just, drop off lunch. I know you're hungry. Or I used to feed on Red Bull and Monster, and he literally used to just stock up his fridge to make sure that they're there. So it's just somebody who was just so vested in helping and making sure that everything is okay, even the smallest of things, that made me know that, this you different.
I love it. And it's interesting how we're hearing that theme of support from both of you without even planning it, yeah? Because obviously that's an important part to life, not just marriage, because people sometimes, I think, forget that there is a real life after the wedding part and so. After the nice dress and
yes.
500-person wedding, there is a life to be lived, and challenges will come. And that's why the topic tonight is, till death do us part. But also, we're focusing on for better or for worse, because the pandemic has brought some little weirdness that I think a lot of couples are responding to. Yeah. Before we jump into the rest of this convo with Lecia and Kyle, I'm going to draw your attention to the poll which we have launched, just to get a sense of how you're feeling today, what you're expecting from the session, and why you came, and how you feel about your marriage, especially now that the challenges are coming with the pandemic, and what you think that, you'll be able to tease out moving forward. And we're going to be having the same poll at the end of the segment to get a sense of if your views have changed, if you're feeling better, etc. So just jump in on that, and we're going to launch the results shortly. All right. So the two persons have spoken about the moment, and from what I'm hearing, it was several moments. Yeah. Now, I'm sure Kyle has been married for 3 years and Lecia for almost 8, right? Almost 8. And I'm sure you can remember before you were married. If you were to think of one of the things that you like most about married life, what would you say it is? And I'm asking these questions because let me tell you, not all of us grew up seeing a marriage in operation, like myself. So sometimes we kind of feel like what it must look like, And sometimes there are very real fears as it relates to getting married and understanding how to navigate that space. So I want both of you to kind of teach us. I have my pen right here because I don't married yet, to take notes, and my notebook is going to be full after this class. And I'm sure many people came for this as well, right? So Lecia.
Take notes too,
So Lecia, from your perspective, what do you like most about being married versus before?
What I like is just knowing that I have somebody who has my back, who is my support, who is my rock, who, no matter what's going on in the world, I have this person who I'm sharing life with, who I'm going through this journey with, and who I can rely on to make, to just help me navigate everything that's happening. And that's why, for me, it's important that it's somebody that I really connect with and resonate with. And that's really the most important thing for me. And like you said something earlier, which I tap into. I was never the marriage type. I never wanted to get married. I was not one of those females who was dreaming of getting married, thinking of getting married. Our relationship started as a fling. It was not intended to go down the road of marriage. So, but I had a stereotype of what marriage was. And I thought that growing up not in a household with marriage, because I'm from a single parent household, but growing up in a religious household, for me, marriage represented a wife who was submissive and a wife who literally gave up her dreams to help the man to realize his vision, and had to sacrifice her dreams for him. And to me, that was the virtue of marriage that was held up. I'm not saying that's what it is, but that's how I interpreted what I was seeing around me. And I had very bold dreams and ambition, and I'm like, no, I'm not marrying nobody to tie down and to do those things. So for me, it was very refreshing to find somebody who didn't believe that and was very supportive of my dream, and to now realize that marriage is actually two people helping each other to fulfill and realize their true potential. So I really appreciate that.
That's beautifully said, Lecia. Thank you for sharing. And you see the theme of support coming through again, pretty much. And also hearing that you teasing out a piece about compatibility of values, which we soon come to that very big C word as well, yeah? But Kyle, on your side, can you just respond similarly to Lecia on that matter of, what you enjoy most about being married?
I don't like it. I joke. I think what I enjoy the most, I think a lot of our relationship has remained the same, other than one very key thing, which is the way we communicate. And I think communication has been, I'm the communicator out of the two of us. Like, I'm the one who just always wants to kind of like talk things out. I don't really let things go. I don't let things pass. Whereas sometimes Russia will allow things to kind of like fester, or, it becomes a problem later down the line. But I like to get everything out in the open and so on. So being the natural communicator, since we've been married, I find that my wife has actually worked a lot harder at communicating from her side. And it's also she's just looked more into it. So even the podcast, she listened to the kind of, like she listened to this brother, actually wrote down the guy's name, Brené Brown. And sorry, it was a woman. We were listening to her together actually. And it was about apologizing. And that's what it was a 3-part podcast about apologizing and why people don't apologize, why people find it hard, why we do. you know, and so I think that side of marriage I've really been grateful for. So I enjoy the fact that we've been growing in that way. So growth is one thing, communication is one thing. And I also quite like her family. I enjoy especially her mother's side. I enjoy, you know, so like last Christmas we spent time with them and it was really nice getting to know them. My birthday just gone and got a nice surprise call from them. Like it's, you know, so really, so that new element to my life is awesome as well.
Listen, I'm getting all the feels from both of you in terms of what you're talking about your relationships. I think it's really good. And you mentioned some key things about communication and intentionality, Kyle, which we soon tap into. But first, let me share. I think we're all seeing the results of the poll. I'm going to just enlarge it so we can see it better. So you guys answered after we asked. The first question was, how would you describe your current mood? 68% of you said yes to okay. 20% of you said happy. 12% of you are feeling stressed right now. On the second question of I feel good about my future, 60% say yes and 38% are saying sometimes, which I think is fair. Question 3, what am I expecting from this class? 64% said they come for relationship advice, 36% said for coping and self-care tips. And the fourth one, I think I understand the opposite sex. Sort of. The start of response got 54% of the responses, and 22% of you said, yes, I think I do. For the issue of, I think this pandemic will make my marriage stronger, we have 30% of you saying yes, 12% saying sort of, and 4% saying no, and 54% of you are not married. So that tells us that people are coming for the advice and the tips for when that time comes as well. With my husband's or wife's help, I am better able to manage the new normal. 54% of you again responded similarly, but 32% said yes, 12% said sometimes. So I told you guys, you know, that people coming for various things, not only married people, but those who want to be married as well. This year, you mentioned about your mindset leading into marriage, what you thought marriage was about, and what you thought being a wife was. Yeah, and it's such a very powerful point because we hear all the time, Kyle, about, you know, just say yes, dear. For the husbands, for easy life, just say yes, dear, and smile. And we hear about happy wife, happy life, and all these things. And I think many of these things give people a kind of negative perception of marriage and a wrong perception too. And that's why I'm glad that all of you said yes to come and share on that matter, right? But Lecia, from your standpoint, on your blog, you wrote about having been fiercely independent. And so that fear of Lord of mercy, suppose I'm too strong, suppose that doesn't fit into the stereotype of what a quote unquote good wife is supposed to be. But you also gave an update on the blog sometime after, and you said, oh my God, I'm turning into that woman. Can you walk us through a little bit how you move from, I'm not about that, into housewife, happy housewife in some ways in terms of, you know, just managing of the house and also being open to your husband, leading on some decisions, but also asserting your own voice in your relationship?
I think for us is recognizing that marriages don't necessarily, your marriage doesn't have to look the way you thought it should look or how you grew up thinking it should look, or how even, you know, somebody prescribe it to look. And this is not me knocking, you know, religion or so on, but for me the word submissive was just something that I didn't want to hear, and it just meant connote all kind of negative things in me. But one of the things you realize when you marry someone is that you are literally joining together. In today's place, when you are a young couple and not so young couple and you are trying to make ends meet, it's no longer the situation where the man is just the provider and you are the housewife at home. It's equally both of you depending on both of your incomes to make a life to grow. And so a lot of those traditional thoughts and things have to go out the window, because you have to think about realistically, if we're going to grow as a family, how are we going to split our bills? Who's going to take care of what? How are we going to share the finances? Unless you really find a really nice, rich man.
Rich is right. That's the one rich.
Where you're not necessarily going to find a man who can balance all of these things on his own. It's going to require both of you to make the life that you want happen. And so when you get to that space, it's easier to realize that it's not about who is leading and who is being submissive. It's literally both of you trying to make life work. And naturally, there are some things that my husband is just really good at, that without even thinking, he takes the lead in it, because I don't want to touch it anyway. And there are some things that I am better at that I just normally assume control, or naturally assume control of. So it becomes a lot more easy and natural, and a much easier relationship than somebody fighting for power, always having to assert that, hey, I am the head of this household, or I am the man and you need to listen to me. I feel like it has just been a natural flow for us in terms of how we interact in our household.
Excellently said. Thank you for that, Lecia. Kyle, you mentioned earlier about listening to podcasts and doing work, and then something there. You mean marriage, the good marriage that everybody wants to jump into. It requires work like that. It requires consuming content and doing constructive work on yourself. Please enlighten our darkness.
So much work. And so it's interesting because their whole comment about the yes there thing. Mm-hmm. And it's every wedding you go to, they say, happy wife, happy life.
Yes.
And it's because it's the man them are for submissive nowadays, because the woman them want fit them way. It's fit them way on the highway. But me rebellious bad enough. Me stubborn, I'm a rebellious bad. I'm a love war. I'm a fighter. Me love war. So me no business. Me will argue it out, right? But there are certain things, but I know out of consideration, out of love, I know that, all right, don't give her a hard time about this. If she expects me to do this, do this. You know what I mean? And but very much like what Lecia is saying, we've come into a groove and we know what each other's strengths are, and we know what each other is good at, and so we can pull up each other from here and there. And sometimes I'm still stubborn and rebellious and I don't want to hear it. And she would tell me, don't use this, use that, and I'd be like, I don't want to. And we're going to argument. But at the end of the day, and that is something I still enjoy that. I love a little argument every now and again. I mean, the two of we love a little argument, and we love work up ourselves, and all of that. Everybody know about them things. So I mean, I think it's good. I don't ever want to be where we're just floating through the place. But at the same time, it's always important to catch yourself when you're going too far. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we've learned, to just catch yourself when you're going too far, so that we don't do anything irreparable or irreparable. And, so we don't just cross a line and cause a problem permanently. And we're able to fix things. So, and I think that's where the podcast and advice from others come in. And just like many people who are here, I'm sure some of the participants are married, are in long-standing relationships, and they're here because this is something that they could, hear somebody else's perspective about. Because it's just like everybody have them friends, them have them married friends, and then we go talk to them married friends about, one and two little things. I think it's important not to talk about too much of your relationship, because at the end of the day, we're all different. And we're going to react differently to things, and we're going to feel a different level of comfort with things as well. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I think it's definitely important to have sources of enlightenment and that you both would consider valuable. Because, I mean, you have the Bible, and a lot of people go straight to the Bible, and some people can't respect it. You know what I mean? So, like, suppose you have one spouse who, that's where they will go, but the other spouse is not necessarily respecting that word as the last word or as the authority, then you can have a problem. So it's about finding relatable sources that you can both kind of understand and come to an agreement that, yeah, this person talks sense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I love that piece, Kyle, because it's a very touchy piece of, yeah, man, it's good to hear other people's perspectives. It's good to hear your other married friends what they're saying. But then definitely the issues can come in of the comparison that Lecia mentioned earlier. Sometimes the kind of pressure to feel like, oh, marriage has to look this way. So the wife always has to cook. And if you can't cook like Lecia, then you're in a problem. You're in a hot water. Lecia is saying, and me. Right? And sometimes, not even sometimes, it is always important, I believe, for couples to chart their own course.
Yeah, I was going to say that for me, that's very, very important. Like I feel like a loving marriage has to be one where you allow somebody to be themselves, to still feel free to be who they are. And I don't necessarily mean that if they were like a cheater or lying or those things, but they still have to be who they are. And my marriage looks different from a lot of people's marriage. I've come under fire, like every year when it's carnival, people go, oh, you make your husband go Trinidad without you. Oh my God. And it's a huge deal. And it's not a big deal to me, and it will never be a big deal because I'm just not that carnival person that I want to go to Trinidad, but he lives for carnival, so go. And I keep telling people whatever he does in Trinidad he can do right here in Jamaica, so I don't really care. So you still have to give people their space. I don't enjoy that, but I like getting away with my close friends for a weekend, and I do that. It's not Trinidad, but it's something else. So you still have to give people space, let them be who they are. Even though you are one, you're not really joined at the hip. You don't have to do everything that your husband do, and he doesn't have to do everything that you do. Like, free him up, give him space. And he should do the same for you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. And on that note of, speaking.
Sorry, just to jump in on that. That's why this whole situation with COVID became such a thing, because especially for me, who is used to having my space, because she's very good about giving me my space, and she's much more of an introvert and I'm much more of an extrovert. So we enjoy different things, we enjoy different kind of spaces and experiences. So that's what was so interesting about this COVID and like locking us into this space now where I can't get what I want. Yeah, exactly.
I'm coming right to it, Kyle. I jumped over here in the very next question, right? Yeah. So it's so important too, to kind of create, I guess, sanctity, safety around your union. And it can be dicey because some people are terrified of speaking about their unions publicly. And Lecia, for example, as a well-known blogger, is pretty open about marriage in general and about her specific relationship, generally speaking. How do we kind of toe the line? How do we find the balance of, okay, I respect your feedback, but Mr. Lago hold harden that this is our marriage and we are going to, protect it in a particular way. How do you draw the line? I say, Kyle laughing. How you draw the line between choosing what to share with your girlfriends, yeah, or to share with your brethren them about the fight last night or whatever happened, or about children or about whatever? How do you find the balance in terms of, choosing which space is safe around your union and for both of you, especially in the heat of the moment where you just want to call your friend and say, girl, you know what I did yesterday? We can't believe that we're still there after 7 years of marriage. Yeah. So Lecia, I'm going to jump to you first. What have been some of your, experiences in finding that balance?
All right. Well, the first thing for me is I share a lot and my husband shares a lot as well. We have, there is a lot that's open. There's still a lot that people don't know, but there is still a lot that we share. You just have to know that once you put yourself out there and you share, you're opening up yourself to criticism. And so when you make that decision to share, then you have to be very grounded and stand firm in your truth and know what your relationship is and what it looks like, right? So for me, sharing is what helps. I tell everybody that my blog is kind of like my therapist and my space. And once people are respectful on it, for example, when I did that post about my husband going to Trinidad and why he goes to Trinidad, I had lots and lots of responses. I had people who agreed and I had people who respectfully disagreed. I had people who had Christian marriages and went, oh, no, 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 no. It's a space to share. We have difference of opinions on things. And in fact, a lot of times just sharing about something that was even a disagreement with myself and Garfield, I've had feedback from people that have actually helped us to, you know, kind of navigate it, or to see that you're not, you see, what is important to know is sometimes when you're in a marriage and things may be wrong or not so right, when you sit down and keep it to yourself, you feel like you are the only one on the earth that are going through these things. When you talk about it, you realize that everybody else has a similar situation or you are not so unique in what you're going through, and people navigate it in different ways. So yes, you don't need to share every single thing, but this is my way of garnering from other people, you know, what they're going through, sharing my own experiences in a way that helps me and also helps others. And just like we do the work on everything else, like Kyle said, if you want to get a job, you go to school, you try to learn about it. Everything that you want to do, you go to church and you listen to the word of God. But for marriages, we just expect that we know how to do it. Like, how? So it has to be through learning, through sharing, through reading, through listening. And for me, that's what sharing is. And so I know where I'm grounded. Somebody can't, through a comment, especially a stranger, who I have no interaction with, can't say something that is going to really impact me and impact my marriage in any significant way. The people, there are some very mature couples who we rely on. Those are the people who I go to when I really need, you know, help and guidance. And I see their marriages last for 30 odd years and 40 odd years, and I want to know how they do it. And again, when you talk to them, the same thing that you go through, they've been through it too. So it's not strange. So you have to just know how to do it, because you don't want to suffer in silence and you don't want to feel like you are the only one going through it. So balance it is what I would say.
I like it, especially that piece about the fact that you're not alone, because sometimes that's the big trick, you know, that's the big thing that is like over your head, like, Lord have mercy, look on the other people who seem to have it all together, and me one over here in the slum, right? And we're not talk for 3 days now, and we're sleeping at the couch or whatever the issues are, yeah? So Kyle, from your perspective now, that same balancing argument, how you make it work? Especially when you're close with your family. You mentioned the love affair between yourself and your wife's family. How do you find that balance between saying, okay, we love all of y'all, but this is our unit, you know? How do you find that kind of thing?
We've never had that problem at all, because well, Rachel is super private, right? Matter of fact, I have to argue with her sometimes because I want to post a picture of the two of us, and I want to take pictures to post of, you know, and she don't want to take no picture, right? But and I think that's a part of her. I just want to break her out of her shell as well. But I do respect that. And the thing is, so she's super private. She's not going to talk to. I used to encourage her to go talk to somebody. I would say, yo, go call your friend and talk to them about this. You know, you need somebody to tell you, say, well, you do a foolishness. And like,
Or
she
not.
don't do that for several reasons. Like, she don't want the person to think badly about me. She don't want, you know, whatever the situation is. And I can respect that. But I really do feel like sometimes it is very useful for you to go and talk to an outsider, complete outsider, who you can trust and who you think have little sense, you know what I mean? But and for me, I don't have to. So neither of us really talk to our families about anything between us. And for a very deliberate reason, I just don't. It's uncomfortable, and I would never want my family thinking anything bad about her, nor she want her family thinking anything bad about me. And I think we protect each other that way. And I have some clutch friends who I know say the money I have sent. Sometimes I just want, you know, bounce a little something I want to talk. But for the most part, we really just talk to each other and we really figure it out between ourselves. And for me, once we have an argument, we have a disagreement, we have a fundamental problem, time. We just take a break, take a second, kind of build back, look at the issue, put things into perspective, try as much as possible to kind of just leave it for a second, which is why space is always so important to me. Because I find that if I'm upset, I just want to get ignorant and I don't care. And then after that, no, I can sit down and say, okay, I was wrong here, or whatever the situation, or you were right about this, and you know, this is how we can compromise, or whatever the situation is. So I think when we can take a second, breathe, come back together, and then have another conversation with other things in mind, now that we're not hot anymore, then you know it works out. So we don't, so in terms of sharing with the outside, we really don't much. And I mean, I would love, like Lecia, I would love to post a little more about it, you know, some things, but I respect her absolute need for privacy. You know, sometimes I push the envelope, but you know, it's all in fun.
And you know what I hear that is so interesting to me too, Kyle, and it underscores the importance of knowing your partner. Don't watch nobody else's argument. What does your partner like and not like? What do you like? Does your partner get that? Because it is so typical when we have gendered conversations about, oh, normally the man them don't like the communication. But you're saying in your union, you are the one who loves to talk it through. Typically speaking, is the woman them in your ears that says, so hold on, you're not post me. Give me a good reason for why I'm not up on your IG profile more often, sir. And here it is that you are push the lady to say to her, honey, can I post you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's so important to understand that, yes, we spoke about it last week when our topic was cracking the man code and cracking the woman code, that yes, there are some gender differences, but they're mostly due to socialization. But what is important, and I say Lecia nodding, is you have to know your husband, your wife, your partner, as opposed to the whole heap of generalizations about them and man, them and woman, them. I'm Mr. Lecia hold up our banner, so I'm going to hold up my own too, right? We're speaking truth to power, yeah? No, I could not let this segment finish without talking about the pandemic specifically, because I hear both of you kind of talking about it in a little circle, about some of the annoyances and the frustrations of sharing tight space, especially when we're under lockdown, right? So I'm going to ask both of you straight up, what have been some of the most annoying and maybe amusing things about the lockdown with your spouse? Let me start with Lecia, because Kyle is taking a minute to compose himself.
You know, it's funny. I don't have any major thing. What I'll say is this for us. Because Garfield is a police officer, his life hasn't changed much. So he is still going to work every day. And if anything is annoying to me is the fact that he gets to have a normal life while I have to make all of these adjustments. So, I mean, his routines are pretty much what they were prior to all of this, because he's still working through it. No matter what is happening, there are essential services and they continue. I feel like I've had my life disrupted a lot more because we're closed, I'm home, school lockdown, Jordan is home with me. And so it's just like, whoa, I think more for me is parenting. Like I'm 24 hours parenting and I was not ready for that. Like I want to send her to school, somebody take her from me. So when Garfield comes home, as he comes through the door, I'm like, yeah, to your father. If he's upstairs, I'm like, want your daddy, please go. It's really, it's that. It's for me, it's a lot more personal. It's just trying to adjust to the new normal, and sometimes low key presenting him for still having a normal life.
And you know, Lisa, I love the honesty, because we can't tackle something unless we talk about it. So if I look at resentment there and it's small, it can really exponentially increase if we don't tackle it. So I love the fact that you're so open about calling it what it is. I feel some type of way. Like me there managing all of this activity, and you're out there being great as per usual. Yeah?
Yep.
So Kyle, on your side now, is there anything frustrating, annoying, amusing on the lockdown that you'd love to share with us?
Well, enough time has passed where I've kind of created a new groove and I've settled down. But when it just started, man, because now she's working from home. She's right in the middle of the living room, in the middle of all of my spaces. So all the sounds in the house, like I'm used to having the place to myself during certain hours, right? Mm-hmm. So I get to kind of do my own thing and have my groove. And then, so I was just like miserable about just having her in the space. But that was in the early days. I've settled down, I think. And yeah, we've gotten we've gotten back into another groove. It's just about adjustment really, and it's just figuring it out. And you know, so I was working out here for a lot of the time, which is not strange, but now I'm working out in the living room as opposed to, because I have my little man cave, my little office, and you know, I will always just escape to my little office. But you know, I'm working out in the living room now, so I have to move the whole entire dining room table and all of this to do my thing. And you know, so, but she's so laid back when it comes to most things that it's really not a problem. The only thing is when we're fighting over space in the kitchen, I want to cook something, she cook something else, and it's, but at the end of the day, we've figured it out. Enough time has passed that we've gone through a little rough patch. We're not cats and dogs anymore. We were fighting like a little bit in the before, just being miserable. And I was really, because I was missing training so much, and I was just having so much cabin fever. I was miserable, just on a whole. Like I was just generally being this real miserable old man. And but you know, especially because things have opened up a little bit and the curfews have extended and so on. I've a lot, you know, the valves have been released, and I've definitely been able to just relax a lot more. And she's so cool about, like, she don't. The only thing is that when I come home, she's calling me like a leper until I wash my whole body and Listerine, all of these things. That's the only annoying thing. But other than that, you know, everything is all good. I complain.
Lecia, that was a loud amen.
Yeah, man. Yep. Go straight to the bathroom and circle back when you're done.
And I mean, especially with a young one in the house, I fully understand.
Yeah, man. Take off everything at the door and walk to the bathroom, and then you can come and have a conversation with us when you're done.
It makes perfect sense. We're going to have a giveaway because JN is very generous. And so we're going to give something away to one of our 102 so far attendees. And the question that you have to answer in one message, in one chat entry, in order to qualify for this prize is you have to list 3 JN Circle chapters. So this class is called the JN Circle Thrive Together Life class. It's JN Circle is the major organizing body within the JN group that's putting it on. Does anybody know where any of the circles are? So drop it in the chat. As people raising their hand, drop it in the chat so that we can decide which of you gives the first correct answer to 3 of the JN locations. And it looks like we're going to need some time. So we're going to continue.
While they're doing that though, I see they have some comments in the chat here.
I'm coming right to that, for sure. All right, so I see some comments coming in. I see a question here that came in from Gerangela. She says, what do you recommend for couples who are not living together to entice the relationship? And I'm going to ask both of you to respond, but first I want to kind of preface it with a scorching blog that Lecia-Gaye wrote a couple of weeks back. And Lecia taught the things then and said that she did her first Zoom lap dance class ever in life. And Kyla bust some gunshot for that, right? And she was bold enough to even post a little snippet of her phone, what she do, yeah? And so I'm going to just drop 3 of the major points that Lecia shared, and then you guys can expound as per your experience and your expertise in this area. But Lecia spoke about the fact that sometimes on the woman's side, there is kind of this tendency to make the man, he must come and seek out the excitement in the, in sexually in the bedroom. He has to be the one to initiate sex or initiate intimacy in that way. And then Lecia shared that, listen, flip the script, do something different. You also mentioned sexting, Lecia, right, as one of the things to keep that sexual part of the relationship alive and thriving. And you also mentioned a little random peekaboo kind of show, right? Adult peekaboo, where you might just put on something sexy and just flash your partner throughout the day randomly. And I know that for now, so many of us are connecting virtually anyway. These are some very practical and relevant ways to keep even a long distance relationship spicy. But true, because I'm not the expert like Uno, I'm going to ask Kyle to
You don't left back no answer for me. You don't left back no answer. Those are all the answers right there. That sounds amazing. You got this thing going on.
Kyle, get creative. Tease out something for me. Tease out something.
Listen, man, no, I think that's great. I think that's definitely a great way to enjoy that long distance. I think there are other things in terms of more, if you want to go deeper into intimacy, starting to do like creative works together, writing poetry for each other, you know, doing some kind of, you know, creative art piece that you could then share with your person, and just getting into deeper conversations maybe. But generally, I mean, I think you hit it on the head. I think that's what's going to keep it popping.
Lecia, A+ on the blog there. Talk to me now. Anything else you want to juice out or tease out for us?
No, a lot of the advice in that blog actually came from a relationship coach, Colleen Diedrich. And she's the person who I also did the online Zoom lap dance class with. And I literally reached out to her because I cannot pretend to be any expert. I am one of them whose husband is always having to initiate because I'm always too busy and tired and stressed, especially with the pandemic and everything. So it was a way of trying to, you know, do something different and not just think about, I tend to get anxious and think about the future and when is the economy going to open back and when tourists going to come and how are we going to sustain this going forward. So it's still, while you're processing all of the heavy stuff, still finding time to make light of the situation, to have fun and to enjoy each other, because in truth this is probably one of the few times in life we'll ever have so much downtime ever.
Oh, be creative is what you're saying this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we nicely answered the question, right? A lot of tips there, and I love how Kyle teased out the fact that intimacy is not only about sex, right? It's not only about sexual intercourse or sexual activity. It's about also the emotional, the feeling bonded with your partner, the psychological piece. Can I really talk to you? When I come and I say, babe, today did rough. Do I trust you to be, you know, to be safe for me so I can share the trials and the insecurities and all these things? And even with what Lecia is saying in the blog, she spoke about the fact that, listen, I'm not well coordinated like that. I don't have the natural twerking skills.
No, it was so funny because Garfield kept bursting into the room every 2 minutes to look at me and go, and I'd be like, leave, I'm trying to learn these routines. And then sometimes he would just come in there with the phone and the camera. So we turned it into one. It turned out to be a fun thing in all awkwardness and everything, because it was just something different.
And you know, what I'm hearing loud and clear from that list here is trust. Because some of us, we're afraid to look awkward or feel awkward. But the fact that you are willing to take that plunge to spice up your relationship and to also give your man some pleasure, right? Even despite the, oh my God, where do I put my foot? How do I go down for my head top kind of thing? I think that speaks to how safe you feel in that union. So these are amazing, amazing tips. By way of the giveaway announcement now, we have a winner. So Dacia McLaughlin has won herself a gift. She put down 3 locations: Morant Bay, Spanish Town, and Port Antonio. So she's accurate, and we want to congratulate Dacia for winning.
Big up.
Congratulations, my dear. Thank you, Latoya, for joining us from Fort Lauderdale also. So Kyle and Lecia, I like when the energy, when you talk up some nice things and so. And I want to just ask you to drop even one, I guess, summarized piece of, you know, advice, some kind of resource for those who are watching who either married already or want to be married soon, because a lot of us are on here today. So let me start with Lecia.
All right, so for me, I know that there are lots of people who are focused, and especially females, you're looking for the right man and you're looking for the right partner, or the perfect person. And one of the biggest things that marriage has taught me is that you are not just looking for the right mate, but you are also, you need to be the right mate. You need to be the right partner. And Kyle said it earlier when he was mentioning how his partner is proactively recognizing the things that, you know, she needs to work on and is listening to podcasts. It's the same way we love to sometimes think that we're perfect and we're the best wives since sliced bread and the best thing ever, and it's the man that is all the problems. And it's not true, because we're both imperfect. So just as how he has his shortfalls and his shortcomings, I'm sure that my husband can reel off 20 things that he would like to change or see a little bit differently about me. So if you both recognize that you are imperfect imperfect and he is imperfect, and you're literally both working on yourselves to make you better for the relationship and him better for the relationship, if you recognize that you have your own demons, your own skeletons, your own insecurities. So when you ask him if you look fat and you were thinking that you look fat and him confirms say you look fat, you don't get upset when him tell you the truth because you're fat, because you expect him to lie to you. Because my husband don't have no filter. Him just going to say, no, baby, you look like a whale. Go fix that. Yeah, you have to just know that don't expect somebody that's gonna lie to you. Expect them to tell you the truth, to amplify the things that it's going to be amplified because you're there and in each other's space. So don't expect perfection, and know that you also have to work on yourself. And marriage is always going to be a choice. You are continuously going to be choosing to remain married. You will always find a reason why you can give up and why you can call it quits, but you have to continue to evolve and change together and choose to stay together. And when you start choosing your partner or choosing to be with that person is when that marriage is just going to die. So there are no perfect marriages, no matter how they look pretty on Instagram, including mine, they're not perfect.
Listen, Latoya from Fort Lauderdale says, real talk. She says transparency and communication are key. I love that, Lucia. I mean, you frame it perfectly. What if a boom, boom, boom points in there? 100% accurate. Kyle, drop us some sage wisdom, please.
Oh, wear deodorant, brush your teeth. Boom. No, for real, like, Lecia really, that it's really what we've been saying, and it's super important to communicate. I really think it's very important to communicate and to know yourself, because really and truly, it's beyond. You can't get to the point of trying to improve yourself and improve your relationship until you know yourself. You need to understand what your insecurities are. Understand why you're upset about something. Until you understand why you're upset about things and why things trigger you, you know what I mean? Then you can't really get to the point of reconciling anything. And then your wife or your husband is always going to have to kind of play catch up, because them can't know better than you what's going on. You know what I mean? So it's a time where you have to look at yourself. And, I see somebody here asking, how long is it to date before marriage? If you know yourself and you know the person that you're talking to, it don't need to be 2 years. It don't need to be a year. You know what I mean? It's about how well you know yourself, and then how well the person that you know in that other person, how you guys match up, how you feel about how you guys make each other feel, how much can that person support the kind of person that you are. And that's what's important. You have to understand the person that you are.
Person that you want to become, because
that you want to become.
Over the years is also real. We
Absolutely.
Sometimes
I remember one of the things I always used to think about is, do I want to focus on my dreams and then get married after I've reached where I want to reach, or do I want to get married to somebody that can work with me towards my dreams? You know what I mean? And the answer was, I want someone who can work with me towards my dreams and be there to help and support me, you know what I mean, while I'm supporting her, or vice versa. You know what I mean? And I think it's super important that once we understand who we are, the individual, then we as a couple can be stronger. And of course, wear deodorant and brush your teeth.
Can't leave it out. In high school, we used to have life skills, and the life skills teacher had one consistent argument to all of us: be nice to be near. So I think that's what Kyle is saying to us. Let us be nice to be near, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Before we transition to the Nelsons, can we just raise our banners to just show some love to JN for creating a space for Lecia and Kyle to just talk some real practical truths? Yeah. Respect to the JN group for creating this atmosphere where we can really have class, because I think Lecia said it, how we going to know how to if nobody not teaching us, right? So thank you too for being adjunct teachers in this evening's live class. Much respect, so much love, and I hope
guys, I learned a lot.
Places continuing to share and talk the truth. All right.
All right.
No flow. Big up, Lecia. Thank you, Kamala. I'll see you guys soon.
Yes, thank you, Kyle. All right, this says fantastic. I will see Booty dropping some love in the comment section. Thank you so much, guys. We're now creating space, we're doing a little shift change, a little step change rather. we're creating space to welcome on the platform Mr. Yanive Nelson and Mrs. Chaday Nelson. Please come on the stage, ladies and gentlemen, and make yourselves comfortable. Thank you so much for choosing. Hi. Thank you so much for choosing to say yes to JN when they asked. I'm so excited to be sitting in the space with you both, right? You look so happy and comfy. I'm ready to get into it. So now, I realize you both are wearing, like you're wearing blue and green. Hello. Right? I'm kind of repping JN somewhere in there, okay?
Yes, yes.
So first things first, Chaday and Yanive, you guys have been married for almost 8 years.
Almost seven. Almost 7.
Almost 7 years. Yanive, I'm rushing it. Almost 7 years, right?
Right.
What have been, from each of you, what have been the biggest lessons that you have learned so far about yourselves and about marriage? That's a big question. I'm thinking when you can manage it. So let's start off with Yanive, sir. What has been the biggest lesson that you've learned about you and about the institution of marriage?
Well, I'll start with marriage first. The thing about it is that I kind of always, I think, had a more or less realistic outlook in relation to marriage. I didn't think it was a fairy tale. I recognize that, you'd have to put in, effort and, commit and that sort of thing. So I think the only thing I wondered was how easy would it be to adapt. And I found that, like with a lot of things in marriage, it really comes down to choosing. Make it, it's about choice. And having made the first and most important choice to become married, you choose your spouse and you choose to tie the knot, as they say. And you choose to continue to build your lives together. That being adaptable, being patient, being considerate, being respectful. All those are things that you have to actively choose to do, and you have to remind yourself that you chose to do.
Yes.
And also why you chose it. So the fact that this you chose an amazing partner, an amazing woman in the case, in Chaday's case, and you are committed to continuing to choose because you know why you chose. I'm gonna stop saying. I'm gonna stop saying. And then about myself, really, I think I think I learned that I don't have a problem being adaptable. I don't have a problem being easygoing and patient. And I definitely am someone who approaches things, but particularly in marriage, with sort of a fixity of purpose. I always said going in that, listen, this is not a game. I'm not messing around. Right? This is it, right? So, I said to Chaday, you better know what you're doing because, nobody now gonna know it. Right? So, whatever it is, we have to work it out. But I always wondered if I was just talk. When I got to be like, John was like, I didn't think it would be, but I was, you said that. Let me, read it just to see how serious I am and how much I can, to what degree I can sustain that. And I found that, I can, I want to, I'm continuing to choose to. I said choose again. But that's really it.
And I think after 6 years, almost 7, still wanting to is a big success. So congratulations on that, guys. I know that it was, I don't think there's any marriage that is just every day. Yeah, man, at this man. Yeah, man, we're good. There are ups and downs, I can imagine, but the fact that you will reach a point where you say, I still want to. And after next year again, I still want to. I think that's a mark of, really choosing, as Yanive said several times, to be consistent and to be intentional.
Absolutely.
Chaday, from your perspective, what have been maybe two of the biggest lessons that you have learned about you and about marriage?
So for me, I think it wasn't so much something that I discovered. I always knew that I had the what do you call this, propensity towards selfishness, I guess I would say. And marriage really can highlight that, because there's really no space for it in a marriage. Obviously, there's space for individuality still, but selfishness is a big fat no-no. And so I think I learned about myself that I really can swing one way or the other. And so marriage was really an opportunity to really grow and overcome that, and overcome it in the sense of it's a daily choice. The truth is that any decision that you make in marriage could be selfish or it could be for the both of you. And so I would say, ultimately, one of the things about marriage, or what I've learned, is that everything that can feel like a challenge in a marriage can also be an opportunity. It's just a matter of perspective. And I think something else that I learned about myself, which is interesting-ish, is that because of who I am, my personality, and Kamal and I have known each other for a very long time, I'm very frank and very straightforward. Some people might find me a little intense, a little aggressive. But in marriage, I've learned that I can be extremely warm and loving. I think Yanive has given me the space to really kind of express safely all different parts of myself. Because I think ultimately what that was about was being vulnerable. You have that ice cold exterior, you try to protect yourself from everything. But with Yan, I finally felt safe enough to just be whatever. And so I've learned that I can be very warm and loving and sweet like sugar. So yeah.
And he's like, yes, you can. I love that.
She is. I must. There's something that I learned, or came to realize, which is not so great, which I'm Chaday's helping me to improve on. That I'm not as good at communicating as I thought I was. And the thing is, I didn't think I was good at communicating, not in terms of articulating, but in terms of knowing when I should say something, and when I should reach out, and that sort of thing. In terms of how I'm feeling, or what I'm thinking, what I'm concerned with, and also generally just reaching out in terms of family and so on. It's something that's coming to stark relief, like pandemic, when we're isolated. Chaday has been sort of the lead communicator for our units. But I thought I was better at that until Chaday started pointing out that oftentimes she has to be the one to kind of pull things out. Really? I think I'm okay. Is it no? So I'm trying to improve, on that aspect of things. I knew I didn't keep in touch with people as well, but also seeing how well Chaday keeps in touch with others, I'm like, this is really bad.
And what I hear coming out as major themes is, one, having a safe space, because Chaday hit the nail on the head, because so many times people may be okay with speaking up, but in general, but when it comes to something close to the heart, some area surrounding insecurity or something has to do with that, it's really difficult to really open up all of who you are in front of somebody who you wonder, are they going to judge me? Are they going to pull away? Are they going to cut me off? So
absolutely,
that's an important part of it.
For example, I sort of my experiences growing up, my past experiences, sort of shaped this sort of attitude or approach of not complaining. So I are not really talking about problems that I have, right? So Chaday has helped me to it's okay to to share, if you have a particular challenge or concern. My thing was more like, roll with it, don't complain, just deal with it. If you can't deal with it, if you can't deal with it, just hold it, As a man, just hold it, man. Just hold it.
Yeah. I remember hearing you guys talk at one point, and I'm trying to remember if I can locate the exact point, but I remember hearing of your experiences that you are very clear and honest with each other, that though you will not always feel in love with each other, you are secure and solid in the love that you have. And for me, I was like, that's a big revelation right there, because I feel like a lot of people go into the space thinking the in-love feeling of, oh my God, he's the best thing ever. Right. She is just the most amazing human being. And the in-love feeling of your, butterflies in your tummy and the whole thing. And Chaday was like, no, let's be honest about it. That's not the thing, right? So talk to me a little bit about that, guys, in terms of, what led you to that realization, and if you think it was like a big revelation for both of you.
Well, I think for me, it wasn't a big revelation, only because a cousin of mine, before I got married, told me that there will be days when you wake up, you look at your spouse, and you'll be like, why did I marry this person again? Right? And I remember thinking at that time, that's a little extreme, but the truth is, and it's a personality thing. Yan just said he doesn't have those days, right? Because Yan is easygoing, roll with it. I am not, right? I'll be honest. I am not easygoing. I don't roll with anything, right? I like things to make sense. And if my space doesn't, always feel the way I want it to feel, I'm like, peace out, I'm out. And when you're married and, we made a commitment that's it. One of us has to die to exit, right? And naturally, let me clarify. Naturally. Right, let me clarify, naturally. And so.
In time.
Yeah. And so, there are times when I will be like, okay, this space doesn't feel like what I want it to feel right now. And so my emotions will follow, which is that, I'm not happy right now in this particular space. And so this feeling of being in love, like, oh my God, and butterflies and everything, I'm not feeling that right now. However, and I think one of the things that I used to do that was really bad is that I would think in absolutes. So let's just say Yanive does something that I find in one moment to be inconsiderate. In my mind, he's an inconsiderate person.
Generally speaking.
Right. And so when you think like that, it's very difficult for you to remember that even if you're not feeling a particular way in a moment, you have a larger idea of this person. And so I had to really train myself to be like, okay, this action was inconsiderate, but my husband is a considerate person. I love that about him. And so let's talk through how I feel about this particular thing. And we talk through it and that in-love feeling is back. Right? But it's a matter of reminding myself who he is and that is a person that I love. And one action doesn't somehow wipe away all the other things that I know about him. And that sometimes for me, I mean, everybody's different, but I know sometimes for me, that takes work. I think for Yan, it takes a lot less work, but for me, it takes work. And that's not Yanive, that's just me and just my personality and things that I have to continue to work through.
Let me just highlight a couple of the comments because you guys are making some waves over here. Jennifer Anderson just says, wow. Simone says, this is really good advice. Thank you. Deidre says she has her notebook out, she's taking notes. And Tamika says, that's great advice, especially for me. Somebody else, Shanique says, I'm loving this conversation, very real and candid. And Kyle is in the comments creating havoc, our previous panelist. Kyle says, good answer, Yan, right? From the previous question that we asked, right? So one of the questions I wanted to ask, to just underscore the point that you guys pretty much did it already is it normal to feel like you absolutely cannot stand your partner at some points? And in case any couple is listening who feels that way, are they doing something wrong? Answer from both of you. Yanive.
So, Chaday made a very good point that personality has a lot to do with sometimes how you respond to things, which is again why you have to be very active in just in terms of framing your own thoughts and your own feelings.
Yes.
My thing is that you ought not to want to persist in that feeling. Even if you feel it in a moment, you should not have any extended period of time where that is what you're thinking and feeling, because that's not healthy for your how you view your partner, how you view your relationship. So really, what you want to do is say, okay, no, that's not really how I feel about a person. The moment, I'm not so comfortable, I don't really like something that has gone down, or I'm a little frustrated about something. But in the grander scheme of things, I know that I love this person. I know that we are a good partnership, a good match, a good fit. And so what you do is you try to be very targeted in terms of the issue itself, and that helps with the communication around it. And it also helps, in terms of your own thinking and maintaining, that sort of positive, you need to constantly, have a positive sort of, view of your partner, that sort of admiration and respect. So it's important to practice reminding yourself that really is what you feel generally. And then so you then ask, okay, so what am I having an issue with? No. And then is now a good time to address that. And then you try to be open and, communicate about it in a respectful and a loving and a patient way.
Absolutely. So I hear you pretty much saying, try to create a climate of non-toxicity in your relationship, because the fact of the matter is that if we dwell in the negative emotions and the generalizing, oh my God, this man, Lord God, right? Then it's going to take root. It can take roots, and then it can spin out into other things, sometimes subconsciously, unconsciously, and then the climate just change.
Right.
So coming back together seems to be
Right.
one of the things that should be focused,
Right. And, I do want to differentiate between, the truth is somebody could be consistently selfish. So you are really asking the question. It's experimenting, in psychology, we call this like Socratic reasoning. So you're really asking questions and you're looking for the evidence. And if the evidence contradicts it, be open to the fact that, okay, this person isn't always selfish. I'm just having an issue with one moment. So be open and be fair is really what I would say in your impression of your spouse, because this is a person you chose. So, you made that choice.
I love it.
I mean, for example, if for argument's sake, you have a partner that, for example, can be a little self-absorbed. Listen, it's not reference to, just this completely abstract example, right? Let's say that is the case. Presumably, you knew this going in. You knew your partner was, and there were. You may have said, okay, that's maybe a thing, that may be a con, but there's so many other things about this person that I love. So, if you're even saying in a moment, boy, I can't stand, it shouldn't be I can't stand so and so, it should be I can't stand when this happens.
Right.
But, I know that this isn't really the be all and end all. And there's so many other things that I love and admire, right? So, that sort of, when you deal with yourself, you're told to practice some amount of self-affirmation. You also have to sort of affirm in your mind, and also verbally, your spouse, your wife,
Partner. Yeah.
partner.
I love it. And I heard Chaday just expose one of our core points of commonality, is that we both studied at the same time. So we both practice psychology. And so Chaday, I think inquiring minds want to know, being a practicing psychologist, ma'am, or detracts from your relationship dynamic? Is it a superpower, or is it like kryptonite at times, or is it depending on the situation?
I think psychology in itself, it's kind of like technology. It's all about how you use it. So, I think there were points when I would assume that I knew more about why Yanive did something than he did. So I'd be like, babe, I know that this is why he did this. There's a deeper meaning. And he'd be like, no, this is the reason. And I'm like, no, I know, right? I know there's more to it. And that was pretty annoying, right? So I think, back then it was a matter of me not trusting that one, he knows what he's thinking. Two, he's being honest about what he's thinking or feeling. Or three, that he'll get to wherever he needs to get to when he gets there, right? So I think in that way, it can definitely be something that can be negative. But I think it definitely has more room for positive than negative. I mean, one, just in terms of the way in which we communicate. And Jan will tell you, I definitely will lead out on that, but that's just because I think, because of what I've learned from psychology and just in terms of clarity of thought and how, putting our expectations out on the table, what that can do, just the level of insight you can gain into each other and the circumstances. And I think just in terms of the different techniques that I practice for myself, even the whole thing of not generalizing or catastrophizing a particular situation, that really comes from, my psychological training and background. So it can be used for good or evil, just depends on what you do with it.
I love it. We're getting some comments to underscore the fabulous gems that you guys are dropping. I saw Tanya say earlier, she says, been married 21 years, together 26. Sometimes you love, sometimes you actively dislike. I love how she phrases that. You actively dislike, and other times you are just neutral. But as long as you are committed to that person and the marriage, you will get through the tougher times. And I saw Licia jumping in. Licia says, it's normal. Those days, however, should be far and few between, but be realistic. You share so much time with the person, you will have days that you can't stand them, period.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So Chaday and Yanive, I feel like it's important to also have some go-to practices, especially in managing conflicts. What's in your toolkit as it relates to conflict resolution? How do you guys practice fighting fair?
Right. Well, I think initially when we just got married, we had this thing where it's kind of silly. But if it is that we were arguing and things were getting out of control, whoever had the presence of mind would just say gladiator. Because that for us was like a reminder that we're acting as if we're in a ring and like we're fighting against each other as opposed to fighting for the relationship. I think at that time that was supposed to be symbolic. Now I think we've kind of evolved into a place where that can be an internal realization that manifests in certain external actions on or individual parts. So for example, the truth is, if it is that we're about to get into some kind of conflict that could escalate, usually one of us will go first in terms of being humble enough to be more interested in resolving it than being right. So I think just trying to find some way to remind yourself that, okay, what would be the best outcome of this? The best outcome of this is if we both leave this conversation feeling comfortable. Reminding yourself that this is somebody that I really care about. Like I care about how they feel. I think that's one of the things that would happen with me and Jan sometimes when we would end up arguing. Jan would probably get the impression that I don't care about how he felt. I didn't care about how he felt because, it was just about kind of like, making sure that the point is clear. So, sometimes I think we think women want to know that you understand how they feel, but it's women and men. People want to know that you understand how I feel and you care about how I feel. Even if I'm not right, I just want to know that you've taken a moment to really listen to what I'm feeling. So I would think those are the things, just little things to remind yourself of. Yeah. The things that, we kind of pull on, I pull on. I don't know if Jan wants to.
So simply put, if you are asked to discuss or to confront a particular issue, and you may have some role to bear, some responsibility to bear in terms of that issue. It's important to remember acknowledgement, yes, defensiveness, no, right? Acknowledgement doesn't necessarily mean that you acknowledge that you're the problem. But if, for example, Chaday says she feels this particular way, I don't immediately jump and say, no, but why you feel that way? Because, I'm in a sense and, kind of thing, is to, okay, I acknowledge how she's feeling, right? Okay, I understand that. And then, be thoughtful and say, okay, all right, listen to what you're saying, and then when you're trying to work through it now, then you have an opportunity to say, okay, I just want to kind of share where I might be coming from, right? So creating that space where you don't feel as if you are attacking or defending yourself. You're not fencing each other. You're not in a gladiatorial ring, as Chaday said earlier. It's not a boxing match. You really are trying to work through a problem together to get to a space where you both feel more comfortable, right? And I used to have an issue with defensiveness. If I didn't think that was a fair representation, that was what I focused on. No, you're not being fair, but you have to listen to what your partner is trying to communicate, and you also have to appreciate, and it's very important, and because a lot of times you're about the importance of communication, and what we need to appreciate is that communication, and including your partner comes forward with a concern or a complaint, that really is a gift. That really is them giving you and giving your partnership, your unit, an opportunity to address something that either is a particular or a serious issue or something that can grow into one, right? When the communication stops, when you create an environment where you can openly and freely and comfortably communicate and be vulnerable, then that is really where a lot of the issues begin to become magnified and enhanced. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. I heard one couple share that they have this technique where whenever the argument reaches a certain point, they will actually sometimes have to say, I cannot be kind to you in this moment. So let us take a breather, make a reconvene meeting tomorrow evening at 2:00. Yeah.
Yeah, we've
and
done
so
that.
I think it's really important to have some kind of a stop order sometimes to say,
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because we always hear the marriage advice that do not go to bed angry. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath. And it's scriptural.
Right.
And I always wonder, yes, I know it's scriptural, but practically speaking, sometimes you only can touch piece of the issue because it is so immense or it is so heated that you can't, sort it out all at once. Yeah?
Right. So, I would say it's more of do not go to bed angry with each other. So you may not have had an opportunity to resolve the issue, but at least if you can have some sort of peace offering or olive branch, like, listen, right now I'm still pretty upset, but I know that I love you.
Exactly.
So we're going to bed securing that knowledge, but we still have to figure this out tomorrow. So I would say that.
Yeah.
But the idea that you can work through everything in the moment, it's just not always.
Yeah, it's exactly that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do have to sleep on it, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
But what you don't want to sleep on is
the
anger, the resentment, or the sort of ill feelings.
Yeah.
So, Chaday, in the past, as on some occasions, we've had a bit of a tiff, and we go off and we're both trying to make things sort of percolate and try to figure out where we are and what we need to come together. And Chaday will come to me and say, I don't want to be angry. I don't want to feel this way because I love you and I want to work this out. And of course, that takes me all the way to wherever I am. And I will say, I agree. That's how I feel too. And so we say, okay, we need to talk about this some more. Let's think on it. But let's recognize that knowledge right now that we do love each other and we do want to overcome this and get to a better place. And so that olive branch of Chaday said, that's all a peace offering. If you can do that, you may never solve the issue in the moment. You may need to work through, you may need to figure a few things out. But the recognition that ultimately what you are really doing is working on a problem as a partnership, right? Then you would have gotten you would have met that sort of mandate to not go to bed angry. You have a solved issue, but you're not angry. You are, you're in progress.
I see some interesting comments coming in. We're wrapping up this segment and I feel enlightened. I have made some mental notes of the things to do. And I see people loving some of the phrases, they're quoting you already, Chaday, right? And Yanive, in terms of defensiveness, no, that's not where we want to go. It's not the healthiest climate for the relationship.
Right.
I see Dacia saying, which is why your safe word is so important. She says, I love what she said. Let me see if I can scroll up and find it. So many comments are coming in. Are so important, she says. So that built in, we are attacking each other. Let's go back to our commitment to fighting for our marriage as a built-in reminder. So we're not attacking each other rather, but we are fighting for our marriage. Trying to start from that place and keeping that place is important too. And I see Lecia vehemently opposing and objecting to the whole idea of not going to bed angry. And I love how Chaday and Yanive kind of clarified how it works for them in terms of, yes, start out yet. However, we at least say something like, babe, say a cup of tea here. So you know something hurts, but at least you want a piece of a patty kind of thing. So yes, so at least there is a breaking big tension in the room. So I just want to people are saying, I love this. Somebody laughing and saying, yes, he would sleep on the sofa for a few days. So people are being honest over here, guys. So I feel like your gems are really valuable.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I also I'm glad someone brought that up. I don't endorse that, right?
Yeah.
If you get comfortable sleeping apart because you're upset, that sort of thing becomes easier and easier to do. It is better you go in at the same bed, and the two are comfortable, and you are trying not to touch each other because two on the vex. And you say, oh, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to come to the bed. And you say, I'm going to work this out because I care about that's a better approach, right?
You know what I always
and in a pandemic, it's practical because, for example, some couples say, okay, to take things down a notch, one person say, yo, we can't do this, my cut, and then they walk out, right? And in some cases that might need to be you might do that, but when we were on a lockdown, for example, in St. Catherine, or 24-hour curfew as PM holders put it, you literally couldn't leave. So taking that approach, it's like you kick the can down the road, you're back up, you can't do this. You have to be willing to say, okay, we're uncomfortable right now, but we don't want to stay uncomfortable
because we have to be in the same space.
Right.
So let's fix it.
So let's work on it.
Yeah.
Right.
I love how you connected it to the pandemic and people sometimes not having the space to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It have to go fixed one way or another, right?
Yeah.
So I believe all of us can agree that you guys did an amazing job for this segment. Please stay on and help me give some good gifts from JN.
Yeah.
We have an announcement for a very special member of our audience this evening. Trishana Kildare was selected to receive an Amazon gift card from the JN Circle Life Class Series family. Congratulations to you, Trishana. And can we just big up JN for being hashtag JN Cares Central? They're giving out things. Yay! So many awesome things this evening. Claudine says, congrats, Trishana. And we have another giveaway because we are in the hashtag JN Cares Life Class, right? So we're going to give away $1,000 call credits to one lucky member of the audience who has quick fingers and who has a Flow device.
Somebody already have the hand
up. We have one for digital too, don't worry. So the Flow people, get your device in your hand and let's go. So the numbers are, remember I said Flow, right? The numbers are 10-7661-2658-0097. And if you get it, just say yay.
Mm-hmm.
And with that,
wow.
We are going to segue into our final segment with Minister Kevin Downswell. And I want to just underscore all the love that we have for Chaday and Yanive Nelson, and for the previous panelists before them, Lecia-Gaye Taylor and Kyle Chin, for being awesome. And for
Thank you for having us.
You are so
awesome, guys.
Bye.
And big up to Kamala and to JM for doing this.
Absolutely.
It's big stuff. It's good stuff.
Big up. All right, thank you so much. We welcome at this time Minister Kevin Downswell, JN brand ambassador, musician, and minister extraordinaire. Welcome, sir. It's good to see
Wow,
you.
is my light too bright? Thank you. Is my light too bright? Am I good? Am I good?
You're good.
Okay.
You're doing real good. And thank you for all of you who are saying I'm a great host. Thank you so much. I'm very happy.
Yes, Kamala, you have been doing excellently.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much. So Mr. Kevin Downswell, Minister Kevin Downswell, sir, we're going to talk about the married in part of the argument, but it's very important for so many people who are in the institution, as well as for those of us, like myself, who have aspiration to get there one day, right? There's an important job you have this evening to share with us. So welcome again, and I hope you're comfortable because we're going to talk for a little while about some real issues, all right?
I am. Let's go.
Let's go. So first thing now, Kevin, I'm very curious about your love story journey, sir. When did you get a revelation? Did you get a sign? Did you get a word that Marsha Downswell was the one to come with you on the journey into your future and hers?
Wow. Kamala, why? Why?
My job, Kevin. It's my work I'm doing.
You know, my wife and I, we attended UB together.
Yes.
Right. So there was always a spot that my wife used to go to meditate. That was Chapel Gardens.
Remember one argument.
That was the Chapel Gardens. And I don't know, but I found myself walking to the garden that very same day when she was there meditating. And she said on that very day, she was saying, she just heard the Lord said, your husband is going to enter the garden soon.
What?
She's like, God, what? And she's even rebuking the voice and everything, that's not God, that's not God. Here comes young Kevin Downswell walking to the garden, because at that point my head was just stressed with some of the courses and I just wanted a breather, come on. Yeah. And I never know God did lead me to do anything, but I said I walked through the garden to find some spot to just get some peace of mind. And when I'm walking through, all I saw was this, it was Marsha. Marsha was sitting in the garden and she was looking at me like, she was like, and I'm like, hey, and she's like, hey, but to cut a long story short, when I kind of felt like she was gonna be the one, I texted God like every day. I just test God, because I said to myself, at that time I was becoming a little popular, and I would get calls from certain people like, I got a prophecy that you're gonna be my husband and you're gonna be this, and you would get the text messages, come on, I would just get them over and over again. And so I wanted to make sure that and so I would just test God like Gideon. God, if I'm Marsha, my wife, I pray that you do this, and he would just do it. Like, seriously, he would do it. And the funny thing is, we don't recognize that God cares about the very minuscule and the very trivial things in our lives that we think he doesn't. He does. And so I used to test God. I said, Lord, if it's Marsha, I need you to confirm this. And one of the last things he did was when I visited her church convention one day at it was what, Holy Shallow? And she was on the podium at the front of the building, and I walked in at the back, and my wife saw me. With almost 1,000 people, my wife saw me coming through the door, and her big smile. Just what was important, what was special for me was at the end of that session, when she came to, at the end, the convention was over, we're greeting each other now, and she walked up to me and I said, Lord, if Marsha, I want you to prove this to me. This is done, God. If you do this, I'm done. If you do this, I'm done. I said, God, this is my wife. I want you to just confirm. Because she loves pray for people. Marsha does love to walk up and just pray for you.
I'm not sure why, Kevin, but we lost your audio, and I don't think you touched anything. Say something. Let me check you. No, I think it's down. Can you mute and unmute and just see if we get the victory?
Am I back?
Victory, yes.
Am I back?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. And the last thing I said to God was, when she walks up to me, I don't just want her to put her hands on my shoulders. I want her to let her cross her hands then.
You're specific, man.
Marsha walked up to me, Kamala.
Mm-hmm.
She started praying for me, and with her both hands like this. Then Marsha crossed her hands.
Mm-hmm. I believe you, sir.
So this is her praying for me, and this is me looking up like I was blown away. And so I just really wanted to make sure because and so God just in good. God is just good.
Mm-hmm. You know, I heard the couples or the members of the couples that came on before you, Kevin, in some way, shape, or form highlight some of their favorite things about their spouse. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you is that very thing. What are you most grateful for about Marsha? And do you think you tell her enough that is something that you love about her?
Let me start with the second question. I don't.
Okay.
I don't believe I tell her enough.
We love the honesty.
Yeah, I fail at that. But my wife is my biggest fan, as in she'll be the one screaming the loudest in an audience when I'm on stage.
Mm-hmm.
If I crowd of maybe 2,000 to 3,000 people, you can hear Marsha on the front of the stage screaming like literal. And if anybody know Marsha and Kevin, they know that once Marsha is in the building, you're gonna hear her. There's a recording of Carry Me. There's a song that I just released called Carry Me. When I come to the end, there's a loud scream at the end of the song, like 30 seconds going out. That was Marsha.
Wow.
But she's my fan, and one of the things that she's a diehard girl. You know, she is in it for the long haul. You'll never find the relationship in a scenario where you feel like she's doubtful. She's in it to the end.
100%.
100%. And so she helps to keep me solid in those areas. Next thing is that she's so humble that when we do disagree, she's always the quickest person to run back and to just, even when I'm the one who should be running back the quickest, when I'm the one who's wrong, she's always the one who runs back quickest to resolve the issues. And so yeah.
I love it. And Kevin and you and love it. The comments are just so enarmored right now by the story. Kyle said that your experience is hardcore. And he's asking the question, did you tell her right then? So sir, you do. Sir, God tell me, say you. Did you tell her, Kevin?
Not then. I couldn't.
Wise.
I had to be wise. I had to just go home and just bask a little bit and just but I really told her the story.
And just chill out, yeah. And one of the things I hear you pretty much saying about Marsha is what some people in the streets call the ride or die. She's not going away. She's in it for the long haul. And as Yanive Nelson said earlier, is the natural dying we're talking about now, right? So until it happens, she's in it.
Man, that's my wife. That's her. That's Marsha.
Excellent. I love it. Kevin, I'm going to pause right here just to reread the voucher for the giveaway because nobody seems to have gotten it so far. Thank you for bringing it to my attention, Gerangela. So I'm going to go back another time and say it a little bit slower so that hopefully somebody can get it and we can just give JN a lot of thanks this evening, right? So for those who have Flow devices, here is your second chance to win the credit. Kevin, are you phone you look for? You don't qualify to enter the thing,
All right, I'm not looking for my phone. I'm not going to look at.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Because we don't want here says bias, right? So for those who have Flow devices, let's go again. It's 10-7661-2658-0097. I think that was slow enough for you guys to get it. So please, somebody get it, please, right? For $1,000 call credit from JN, our fabulous friends and sponsors and space creators, the JN Circle and the JN Group. Kevin, as a minister and as someone who is very serious about your faith and in bringing hope to others with the message, right, of the gospel, Do you not find that sometimes in church we don't have as balanced a view of, healthy marriages in terms of sometimes the work that needs to go in, and sometimes emphasizing some of the non-spiritual parts? What are your thoughts on that?
That's true. I mean, I that's one area I've always stressed on when I'm talking with some of my friends and buddies, that we can over spiritualize, and we stay on that tandem for like forever.
I think your audio has chipped out again, Kevin. I'm not sure what happened, but it went down again. So if you could just try to mute and unmute. No.
Am I good?
Yes, you're good now.
Yeah. So we over spiritualize very often, but not just over spiritualize, but we keep over spiritualizing, looking past the reality. And sometimes we come with a spiritual solution that sometimes ain't requiring a spiritual solution. Sometimes we think the solution to everything is prayer and fasting, but sometimes it's just both partners sitting down and having a conversation.
That's a word.
I do agree that sometimes we over spiritualize, and we have to get to the place where we recognize we are both spirit, soul, and body.
Yes.
Am I still here?
Yeah, man. Hearing you loud and clear. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you, Kamal.
You're not hearing me?
But we have to recognize that we are both spirit, soul, and body, and so we have to feed all three areas of a person. And it's not just always on your knees. It's not just always fasting, and it's sometimes a simple communication. That's it.
Absolutely. Are you hearing me now, Kevin?
I'm not hearing her.
I'm not sure what's happening. Audience, are you able to hear me? Let me just do a quick check. Somebody just type and say yes. Okay, they're hearing me.
Not hearing you.
All right. But Kevin is not. Are you hearing me now, Kevin? Are you hearing me now, Kevin?
I'm gonna come on back with my device, because okay. I think this. Yes. Give me 1 second. Don't move.
No problem at all. Thank you for that. So we're hearing it from Minister Downswell, right? A very practical response to the issue, which is the fact that sometimes, as somebody said in the comments, it's not that serious. People just need to apologize. People need to introspect sometimes. Sometimes people need to have some good sex, create some good intimate moments with their partners, and be able to feel safer and closer to the one who they have chosen to spend their life with. Yeah. Another thing, I was in a space recently, and following up on the issue that Chaday and Yanive raised of communication, I was in a space recently talking about relationship issues, and somebody gave the example sometimes of how a wife or a partner may say to her partner, I ask her to fix the lock. About 3 weeks now, I know the lock can't fix. And how that simple thing can become a huge issue in the relationship. And I remember just feeling inspired to share the perspective that, listen, enough times is the meanings that we attach to things that can cause the problem. So maybe for the wife, Kevin, it can be a situation where she look at him as man, and man's supposed to take care of the things them in the yard, right? Mm-hmm. Suppose the man never grew up in a house like that, where he learned how to do yard things. You understand what I mean? He may feel intimidated. He may feel as though you are likely to compare him to Kevin. Kevin is very handy in a theme house. And she hear Marsha talk about how Kevin fixed the plumbing and the toilet and the everything. And she has that desire for you to be same. Yeah. And then from the female partner's perspective now, Kevin, sometimes it can be where she attaches a meaning to the door being fixed by her husband. She can perhaps feel like, but as a man, when I want the door, the lock not working, I want to feel safe. And worse, if you have other people in the union, like children in the home, you can feel like, you're supposed to make me feel safe. So for her, you're not fixing the door is an issue of you don't seem to care about if teeth broken or not. So it's so important to figure out, and to create space to have the conversations about what it means to you. So for you and Marsha and Kevin, were there honest discussions, open discussions about creating your unified vision of love? What marriage mean to you, right? What does forever mean to you? Did you have those kind of, deliberate conversations leading into marriage?
Without a doubt. Because the idea is not going into marriage with some fantasy, with any form of illusion. It's about being intentional.
Yes.
So you talk about everything. I mean, one of the first things my wife and I did was, I remember we going to Fort Clarence one time, and my wife is we love to pray. We just love to pray about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we did on that sand is we walked through our family line, and we looked through things that we knew our families would struggle with. Mm-hmm. And we began to pray about that, because we said to ourselves, we don't want to be struggling with, we don't want our lives to be another platform where that cycle repeats itself. Mm-hmm. And so she would go through her line and realize her family would struggle with this. As a matter of fact, when I got married, I never knew I would have lasted beyond 2 months or 3 months, because
what a confession on life class tonight.
no, I'm being real, because my family, what I've seen from my family, that was modeled to me. And so I never had the confidence based on past experience to carry on anything. I had to learn from scratch. I had to learn to love while in the process. And so, Kamala, many hits and bumps and bruises. Oh my God. I had to learn how to love, because the next thing is I came out of a family who when they're upset, they go silent forever. And they'll be upset with you for 26 years, for years. And so having a wife with a personality she will not allow you to be upset for not even 10 minutes. I had to recognize, had to grow to understand and to become that man that made her feel secure in the relationship. I had to guard her. She's giving of herself in that area. Why? I need to ensure that I balance her out in reciprocating that confidence, that security. And so I had to grow. I had to change. Sometimes persons say marriage is not about you changing For that marriage to work, there are some things about you that you're gonna have to change, because you come in with your own preconceived, concretized, whatever. You come in with you. She comes in with who she is. And so there are things that you're gonna have to shift about you to ensure that the environment, the marriage environment, is healthy. So we do say,
go finish your point.
So many times people would say marriage is not, you don't come in it but marriage is not to change anybody. It will change you, because if you want to become the better man, if you want to become the better woman, then you're gonna have to be willing to become it. Meaning changing, meaning loving her more. As I mentioned earlier, I never had a model. My pastors were my model. Some of my male friends were my model. So I had to learn. I had to read the Bible. I had to learn that love is patient and it's not puffed up and it's not easily provoked, because I was very miserable, Kamala. I must admit that.
God bless Sister Marsha.
I was very miserable, but thanks be to God. This girl the Lord has used her to I'm a better public figure. I'm a better minister. I'm a better friend to everybody else, because because she has been patient with me, and so I've changed. I have changed, and I had to be willing to change and not say, oh man, I'm not this for not changing, I'm not this thing. No, I had to be willing to be a better man.
And Kevin, you know why it is especially powerful to hear you speak so openly? It's not only because you're a minister, and unfortunately in some spaces, ministers don't always share the part, right, about the not so 100 part. they talk about the victory and they talk about the scripture, but sometimes vulnerability to say, you know, I struggle with being puffed up or I struggle with so and so. We don't really hear that too often. You understand? But also because you are a public figure, Kevin, and in many ways a role model. You understand? It's beautiful to hear a Jamaican man get up and say, listen, the value that my wife has brought into my life is without no doubt. It's especially beautiful to hear you talk about growing and changing, because sometimes we feel as though, listen, you just put on the ring, and especially for us as women, the white frock, and we just feel nice and bossy. We're married now, talk up to me, right? And then what happens for the marriage after the wedding? What happens after that? So I love to hear you talk about the changing. And an important piece that I want to interject here, Kevin, is the fact that I feel like a part of the danger is feeling as though we can change the other person. You made the decision, as Yanive used the word, you used the word chose and choice so many times. You made a decision and you continue to make that decision to change. You understand? It
Absolutely.
Had to
Absolutely. Because she needed me to show up in the marriage. You know, if I never showed up, how would she have been known? I believe that if I never showed up, we might not have had a marriage today. You know, how much did I value her? And the value, sometimes you prove of the value of a thing on how much you're willing to pay for it, how much you're willing to sacrifice.
Come on now,
and every single minute, my wife became more valued in my eyes. I recognize that if I lost, if I got careless and lost this girl, I'd be losing everything. You know, and so I had to. You
have to pay the price.
I had to.
Yeah. I see they say in the comments says, Kevin, we appreciate your candor. And I feel like we don't know how we cannot be seeing Marsha's face after this beautiful argument. Because I want to see Marsha blush, but I'm not stressing her out, right? And here she is in the comments. Speak of her. She says, you show the value of something by how much you pay for it. And she says, powerful. That smiley face. Hi, Marsha. I'm glad to see you blushing in the comments, right? It's good to see. And people are responding to the transparency. And some people say, yes, we need to see her, but we're not mix me up tonight, right? So, Kevin, I especially liked when you spoke about the reality of not having seen a model.
Yeah.
Because that is why I will forever sing the praises of the JN group for creating the space so we can actually have class. Hold on, man, one day. Come, Kevin. Yes? So that we can continue, we can learn, because the reality is this, Kevin. How we going to know if nobody not teach us? How we know how to be tender? How do we know how to apologize? We have to have spaces like these where we can teach each other, you know? And so especially, you mentioned something that I find hilarious, but I believe you. You say your family have some VIP vexation people. We're all 26 years. Then just vex same way. How do you then make an adjustment now to a wife who not depend that?
Right.
She wants to hear the ear. That's an important piece, Kevin. Do you find that young men come to you often to be guided with similar stories like yours of not knowing how to do it?
Every single day. Direct messages, Facebook, Instagram, every day. And the worst thing I could ever do is respond mechanically or respond like I'm a minister of the gospel and you should seek the Lord and he's gonna break you through. We're not 100% spirit, we're spirit, soul, and body. And so I have to, when I in my response, I have to be real to them. You know, I have to let them know that this is how you do it. These are the mistakes I made. Oh yeah, I have to be willing to express that side of me for them to recognize that just like them, I'm a human being as well. You know, as much as they might see me as Kevin Downswell and they might deify me, don't deify me. I want you to recognize that if you pinch me, if you cut me, it's the same thing you'll get. And so I make the same mistake, but it's a choice. It's a choice you make every single day to get better and to get better and to get better and to love that girl better and better and better every single day.
Ooh, Minister Downswell, you're dropping a strong word tonight, sir. You've earned your dinner and your supper right now. Right? Like, sharing so powerfully and so authentically, it makes the entire difference. Yes? Yeah. Kevin, I know that we may have somebody on here who may want to ask a question of you. So we're going to ask an attendee to raise their hand, and we will select one of you to come on microphone, and we'll see if we can share some particular gem or maybe an issue that they may be having. Let me just check in the Q&A section. Okay. Somebody asking if you're going to sing for us tonight. Listen, we're not mixing me up. Mixing me up. So Anika Fairclough Foster has raised her hand. And so I'm going to ask the team behind the scenes, Javon and Kevin, to offer Anika a microphone.
Hi, so Anika.
Go for it, Anika. Good evening and welcome. Anika, please unmute yourself. We are ready to hear you if you are ready to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Hi, Anika.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am okay. All right. My question is this. How do you deal with a husband who puts you in debt and then everything is left on you to deal with?
So from the money standpoint, putting in financial debt.
How do you deal with a husband who's always put you in debt?
Yes.
And the deliverance is left up to you.
And it's left on me to clear.
Okay. So Anika, just a clarifying question, if you're able, comfortably answering, is it a case where the union is still intact? You're still married?
Right. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Okay.
We ain't going anywhere.
Thank you for sharing. So we're going to ask Minister Downswell to share his views. And I think I may also chime in too, just to keep the conversation balanced and together. And Anika, I'm sure you're listening for what we're going to say. And people in the comments,
yes, I am.
Please feel free to drop your gems of wisdom there as well. Thank you very much, Anika.
You're welcome.
Well, one of the first things you could do is open an investment account with JN. I'm kidding. Big up. But seriously though, Anika, I mean, I truly believe, I hear you. When a man finds himself in that position, he's not leading as he should. A man should be the leader. A man should be the protector of his family. A man should always ensure that the decisions that he makes are always there to, in a position in a way to protect, guard, and ensure that his family is in the best position. And so if it could be an issue that he has had for a long time before the marriage. Mm-hmm. And what I would encourage you to do is maybe seek counseling together, both of you, not just him, but both of you. Seek counseling, seek some wise counsel on that, because it might be an issue, a deep underlying issue. There might be underlying issues. Sometimes men spend as a result of other things, But I believe that if that man was online right now, I'd say to him, bro, it's time for you to be a leader and lead. If you want to encourage your wife to save, you need to save. If you want to encourage your kids to save, you lead by doing. You lead by being the example. You don't push people, you lead. And so I just want to encourage you, Anika, to, number one, I want to big you up for saying what you said a while ago, that you ain't going nowhere in that marriage. Big up. But I would encourage you guys to find someone who you guys can confide in for some counsel, some pastor, someone who is able to give you some light in that area.
Well said, Kevin. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you, Anika, for being vulnerable and for seeking what resources too, And I see our previous panelist, Kyle, saying in the comments, it's also important to show your partner how it's hurting you. Yes? Because sometimes through the way we communicate about it might not be bridging the gap sufficiently.
Yeah.
You rightfully said, spending can be linked to so many things. Sometimes our sense of value and worth is connected to how we want to show people who we are, you know,
Yeah.
what we can afford.
Yeah.
There may be some deeper issues at play, and so it is important for us to tease them out in a safe space. So maybe a neutral third party, Kevin and Anika, may be very necessary for the next step. Because maybe you're showing up as Kyle is saying and telling him how you're hurting, but he's not receiving it in the way that you intend, etc. So a third party is like the next step for me, you know, in terms of how to tackle it. And an important consideration here, you know, that many of us don't think of, Kevin, is how money play a big role in marriage and relationships in general. Huge. It's one of the major reasons why marriages break down, the handling of money. And I heard Dr. Karen Carpenter reference in some space before about the concept of financial infidelity. And I was like, what? Infidelity? And she said, yes, because sometimes people are cheating with the money.
Absolutely.
So it's important to have ground rules and to have ways in which we manage and continue to give attention to how we manage.
Right.
Yeah. So Kevin, because you did such a great job just now, we have another calling for you, right? So we're going to pick on Rochelle Smith Haslam to come on stage and accept a micro and to share her question with the panelists, chiefly Kevin Downswell. Go for it, Rochelle. Please unmute yourself and share your question. Good evening.
Good evening, Kamala. Good evening, Kevin.
Hi, Rochelle.
I have a question. Being married to a minister as well, can you say how well do you balance ministry and marriage? I know it's a tough thing to do. As the wife of a minister, sometimes on my side, it's a very lonely experience. Even though you're there in this space physically, you're there supporting, you're there, you know, but sometimes it can be a very lonely experience. So how do you balance both?
That's an excellent question, Rochelle, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Rochelle. I'm going to answer with a quick story. This pastor friend of mine, he passed a few years ago. He had a member whose husband had always had issues with pastors, and so she just moved to the church, and her husband said to her one night, "Where are you going?" And she said, "I'm going to church." And she came to church, and after church, my friend said, the pastor said, "So where's your husband?" It was because it was a meeting where it should have been husband and wives, and she said, "He's home and he's not happy because I left him," and so forth. And he gave her a message. He said, "Pass this on to him for me." And he rolled a piece of paper and gave it to her. And she went home and gave it to him. And he was like, "What is this?" He said, I'm not going to tell you what he said in the paper yet. But the next time she came to church, he walked up to her and he said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Go home." And she's like, "Go home?" He said, "Go home. Go home, because your husband, the one who should be number one in your life, is feeling like number two." Okay. So the pastor sent her back home from church and said, "Go keep his company until he's satisfied." When she got home, and she told him what the pastor did, he was blown away, because he had never met a pastor who had put everything in the right context.
Right.
And so guess what happened? He showed up at church the next Sunday, because he wanted to find out who was this pastor who was so different. And so the point in that long 1 hour story is that family first. Your family, your wife or your husband first. Not church, not the ministry, nothing else. family is number one. That is everything. God created the family first, and that is, I've always said to my wife, my first ministry is not to anybody on the road. My first ministry is to her. And so I want to leave that with you, that it's important for us to learn to prioritize things. 1, God. 2, my wife. 3, everybody else.
That's right.
And she has to feel that. You don't just think it, you don't just preach it on the podium, but she has to feel that when it comes to decision making, when it comes to you having a dilemma, you have to prove it to her that she is the number one above everything else. So you don't just think it, you say it, you act it, and when a man acts like that, and when a woman feels like she's priority in his life, he gets a different wife. She's a different woman in the house, because when anybody call from church, she knows say he might come to her first to ask her permission or to find out what she thinks about it. Him not just walk out of the house, on him in a day, I'm gone at church. His action has declared that she is number one and everything else comes after.
That's right.
Wow. Rochelle, thank you for that very.
Thank you so much as well.
Welcome. That well-placed and relevant question. And the key to what Kevin has been saying here is that balance is important and prioritizing. Yes?
Yes, that's my word.
Priority.
Prioritizing. And you know, I feel like this is something that we need, these conversations in church spaces too, Kevin, to help ministers to understand that, listen, this is the way it ought to be, this is the structure. I know one minister who said, listen, some Sunday night, the order of the day, his agenda is to play Jackie Back Ride with him children then, right?
Right.
Or that is the ministry for the Sunday night. Nothing else.
Come on.
And he is clear on the value of being present to his family as his primary ministry first. So we're going to keep spreading the word until ministers understand it everywhere, until we get back to the point of realizing that family has to come first under God.
You know, Kamala, before I go, I have heard backlash from that. You know, that you are letting God down. That, I think that's the mildest way I can put it right now.
Thank you for being mild.
Because you choose to be with your family, say on a particular night, rather than being at church. You know, so I've heard that, I've seen that, and I think it's quite unfortunate.
Yes.
But as Kevin said tonight, priority and balance, and that's very, very important, because we set examples to other couples in the area of church, in the church environment as well. And if they don't see marriages in church growing and being healthy and fruitful, then what's the point?
Exactly so. So a good takeaway is that we're all representing.
That's right.
In shape or form, and that ultimately, you know, God give the family what you have. He gave it to you, so you are also the steward over that family unit, and not only over a congregation or a choir or a band. You also have the role of stewardship over that family. So thank you, Rachel.
Let me also add, Kamala. Let me also add to that. The Bible said in Genesis 2:24, therefore, shall a man leave his father, his mother, and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Did you hear church there, sir? Did you hear prayer meeting there, sir? Did you hear anything else? He said they shall become one flesh, one flesh. And so truth is not always accepted. It's you stand on the truth because it's the truth. And so what's her name again? Rochelle. Truth is truth, and not always everybody's gonna agree. But the important thing is the truth is grounded on the word of God. And so stand on that. Encourage your husband. Find. As a matter of fact, this might be something that needs counseling again. For you guys to find back the true priority and to realign back to what matters most.
I love that, Kevin. And it's a good point, especially the point that marriage counseling should not only be sought after when there is a problem. There is something such as maintenance counseling as well to keep things from going down a downward trajectory. So it's important to tap into resources even when things are good, right? To keep things from getting to a negative place as well, right?
Yeah.
So I find the conversation rich. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. We have another giveaway because this is the JN Life class and JN love people. People first, hashtag people first, hashtag JN cares, right? So for those of you who have Digicel devices, this one is for you. Let me see now. Voucher number, ready to go. 03048 3130 3962. And if you get it, just say yay in the comments. So we're coming to the end, Kevin. We're going 10 minutes over and nobody not here because the conversation nice same way, right? But we're going to start to just wrap it up now, Kevin, with a final question for you. In terms of how we grow and change, right? And how we plan for the future, Kevin, how would you inspire, share, suggest to those who are listening to plan for how we change over the lifetime? Because the Kevin that you were 12 and a half years ago, when you got married to Marsha, is a different Kevin now. And if we have this life class conversation 12 and a half years from now, I figure both of you will change in some other ways also. So how we can plan for that? How do we have the conversations about not only where we are, but where we want to go?
My brain froze a while ago, but I believe that we have to look. We have to think. One of the things that I practice the most is always plan years ahead. Don't always think and operate and live in the moment. God is a generational God. And so we must never live for today or live for ourselves. And so one of the things that I do is remind myself that I'm not just living for now, and I'm not just living for myself. I'm living for my children. We are living for our children. And so that helps to shape the plans we make, the decisions we make today and exactly and tomorrow. If I was living for myself, I would go in my bank account and just go party. Sorry, Christian party. Holy Ghost party.
Delete.
But because I'm not living for myself, because I have someone right beside me who is my better half, who I have to also protect and guard. And let me bring this down. And I have to live beyond me. I have to live beyond no. And I have to ensure that just in case anything happens that's unplanned for, we are secure. You understand? And believe it or not, women, they just want to feel secured.
It's simple, Kevin.
Women just want to feel secure. Let me tell you, one of the worst things, you want to have a woman anxious is when she when she goes online and looking at bank account. A woman wants to feel secure, and you might get others, you might have her respond in a particular way when that's not even the root of it. The root of it is sometimes she just don't feel secure. Yes. And so you might see other, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Spin-offs. Yes. So if I was a single man, I would plan ahead as a single man, but no, I'm a married man. I have to plan in a way where she knows that 10 years from now, she's gonna be okay. And I have to make sacrifices now also. I have to learn how to delay my gratifications so as to make, I live for God, but I also live for this girl.
Come on,
I live for God, but I want to make sure that she is happy. You understand? And so when she looks down the road 15, it's not just about it's the decisions that I'm making now and how they affect 20 years down the road that makes her feel secure now. Yes. You understand? It's not just putting aside money or bank account. It's my attitude now. How is my work ethic? Am I lazy? How do I spend my week? Do I sit on the couch Yes, quarantine time, just put up your feet all day and just watch TV all day? Or am I always learning something? My wife is always studying, Kamala. Now, let me wrap up because I'm a long talker. My wife is always studying. And what she has done is to challenge me to never be relaxed educationally. So I'm always studying too. This quarantine has rejuvenated our lives in such a way where I'm back in school.
Wonderful.
And I'm studying. So you're not on the road, you're not touring. I'm using that time to study. And so how does that make your wife feel? Come on, you don't have to ask.
Yes.
You understand? And so my decisions now, what am I doing now? What am I doing now? What kind of attitude do I have now in regards to my future? And so, yeah, it's about decisions now. For then, it's about my actions now and how it impacts then, and reminding her in my attitude and my actions that I put her way above me.
Yes, you choose her day in and day out.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
I love it. Kevin, I came across this quote recently that said, if you did not come from a healthy family, make sure a healthy family comes from you. And I feel like...
Come on, stop preaching, man. Remember, I will run up and down in the house, you know.
Kevin, I'm here for it. You're not going to be here for it, right? Kevin, when I saw it set my soul on fire, because I think so many of us are in that space of saying, listen, I didn't see the 100% healthy model, but me make up my mind, say, then I'll perpetuate this generational situation, not even one time. And so, again, intentionality.
Yes. It's about breaking that cycle. It's about breaking that cycle. There's so many times I would be on stage and I would say to young men and young women, you have grown up to see your grandmother died in it. Your great-grandmother died in it. Your mother looked like she's going to pass in it. What difference are you going to make? Breaking that cycle. And that is my life story. That is my life story. Come on.
I got the revelation. I got the revelation, Kevin. I knew it would connect.
Is my life story. That is my life story. I've not seen it. But I couldn't use that to justify me not learning, becoming a better man. I had to learn to recognize that my son, I had to learn that, to realize that the things, it's easier on him, the more sacrifice I make now. The better my decisions are today, it's better for him in the future.
And for their children thereafter.
And their children's children. And so that's it. It's about breaking that cycle and starting a new one and building a healthy one. And so, for example, if your family not used to, not social, you change that status quo. You change that. You break that cycle. If your family is you've not had long-lasting marriages beyond 2 or 3 years, you make that sacrifice and you stick it out so as to start that new trend.
Beautiful. Listen, church nice. Life class nice. I love it. And finally this evening, everybody, we have one more giveaway because it's JN. A JN place gonna come and they're all about generosity, service, right? And creating value for you as members. So for anyone, the first person rather, who can drop the names of at least 3 of our panelists, their names in one chat entry, you win for yourself a wellness box curated by my company, White Lotus Blooms Wellness Services. I promise you it's worth it. Okay then, so we see they said us. Yeah, you've been ready. Congratulations. She said Lecia, Kevin, and Kyle, and she win, right? So congratulations, Lecia. Please send a private chat with your contact information to me as the, I think, moderator of the
Congrats, Lecia.
Congratulations. Listen, Life Class Nice is a new hashtag I want to use. Hashtag Life Class Nice, right? Thank you for coming and for sticking and staying for the entire segment. Congratulations to Rochelle, who I just realized won the credit, Kevin, the same person who came on microphone. And we have the results of our poll coming up right now. And from what we are seeing here, 59% of the respondents said, yes, I think this pandemic will make my marriage stronger. 71% of respondents said, I feel good about my future. The question of was this class helpful? 92% said yes. So
Wow.
Kevin, I feel as though we did our job, we did our work this evening, and JN did accomplish what they set out to accomplish. Okay?
Love,
Benita
love
said,
you, JN. Congratulations, JN. Congrats, congrats.
so many good points. Benita says, if only I knew these things before my divorce. So you see, we need to continue this conversation. So next week at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, please join us for another scintillating conversation in the series. We are going to be tackling the matter of unbecoming a man. Unbecoming a man. We're going to talk about the heart of masculinity. And we have some fabulous speakers lined up. So bring yourself, bring 5 friends, bring your male friends, your husband, your partner, your prospective husband, Kevin. Maybe God give some people some word this evening too, as to who to marry. So bring them come next week. We can talk about what man really means and healthy manness as well. Thank you. Until next time, Kevin, make a wave with banner. Thank you for joining us. Register for the class and let us continue to be great as human beings and as members of the JN family. Thank you, everybody. Big up on yourself, Kyle, Lecia, Chaday, Yanive, and of course, Kevin and Marsha Downswell.
My wife says hello. Yes, Marsha says hi. She's not coming in the camera. So she's not coming in the camera, but she's saying hi.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And until next time, next Wednesday, we will see you again. Bye-bye, everybody.